in the back which has towels on it and some man's feet sitting in a leopard print chair. And there are also emails to be aware of that are going viral showing someone named Brian Miller with USANYS, which stands for the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Southern District of New York, claiming that Prince Andrew was an accessory to a girl's gruesome death. However, an important detail to note that a lot of these viral posts are missing out is that a few weeks later, there are more emails that show that these people were sent a CD, and an official said it appears to us to be materials from a crazy person and, as such, does not need to be produced. Andrew himself has always and still does deny any wrongdoing. But moving on to the next names, see you there in a sec.
But all right, though, let's see what BBC got to say about it.
Pictures appearing to show Andrew Mountbatten Windsor crouched over an unidentified woman are featured in the latest disclosure of files linked to the late American sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah, and shout out to my man, Jay. He's like, don't end up like Virginia, vote red in the midterms. Yeah, because we're not going to feel sorry for you when you're complaining about affordability, and then we look into it and we see that, you know, your governor done raised your taxes. I'm sorry, we're not going to feel bad for you. We're not going to feel bad for you if that person in your district raised sale taxes. We're not going to feel bad for you. I'm sorry. It's just going to have to be on y'all. Y'all wanted to vote blue because of the F Trump agenda. Trust me, because not about affordability. It's not about affordability. I'll tell you that right now. It's really just about F Trump with most of you guys.
Epstein. The images are among more than 3 million documents published by the Trump administration. It's not known where they were taken. Mr. Mountbatten Windsor has been asked for comment, but he hasn't responded. He's previously denied any wrongdoing. The US Justice Department said this was the final batch of material that would be published. John Sudworth has the details.
In and amongst the more than 180,000 images released are these pictures showing the then Prince Andrew kneeling over and touching a female whose identity has been hidden. There's no context, location, or date provided. Andrew has always denied any criminal wrongdoing, but this latest batch of files once again contains items raising serious questions of judgment, not least an email exchange from 2010, long after his close friend Jeffrey Epstein had been convicted of sexual offences involving children, suggesting he meet with a 26-year-old Russian woman in London who he might enjoy having dinner with. Andrew replies he would be delighted to see her and adds, will she be bringing a message from you? Please give her my contact details to get in touch. Epstein writes back, she's 26, Russian, clever and beautiful, and yes, she has your email.
We will continue.
Wow.
The new files also contain further revelations about Peter Mandelson, who last year lost his job as British ambassador to Washington after it became clear his friendship with Epstein had been deeper than previously known. They include the claim that the sex offender sent Lord Mandelson's then partner, now husband, Ronaldo Avila da Silva, £10,000 to cover the cost of an osteopathy course. Lord Mandelson has described his friendship as a most terrible mistake and says he wasn't aware of Epstein's crimes. There's little, though, to pose a real threat to President Trump, apart from some unsubstantiated allegations which the FBI had already ruled out, nor, his administration says, anything to prove a wider conspiracy. But with so many documents withheld or redacted, Jeffrey Epstein's victims do not believe they've yet been given the whole truth.
When the president signed the bill in November, it was to release all the files. All the files need to be released. They haven't been released. So that's what closure looks like. That's what justice looks like, whether anyone's prosecuted or not. Get the full information out there so the public, the survivors, and everyone can really know what's going on.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of confusion around the Epstein files. Now, I ain't gonna lie, these pictures of Andrew is pretty damning at this point. It's like, bro, you're on your knees. There's a little girl in front of you. I mean, I don't even know how you can explain this. So you might just want to go to America and face that jail time. Like, honestly. But for other guys, like what was going on with Elon, how he's mentioned, Trump, how he's mentioned, these are all stories that's honestly never been corroborated or anything like that. And we're going to see what comes of it. I mean, trust me, there's a lot of people mentioned in the Epstein files. A lot. Like, well, 5 rows of hedge fund billionaires. I mean, sheiks, presidents, movie stars, like celebrities, all that good stuff. It's pretty crazy. Like, check this
There are
out.
so many allegations made against Trump and many others in these new Epstein files, so the best way to go through them is person by person. Part 1, Donald Trump. Now, his name does come up a lot, to be more precise, over 1,000 times. In fact, the guy who just produced Melania Trump's new documentary, Brett Ratner, he was actually seen in the files as well, hugging a young girl next to Epstein. Now, just so you know, most of the Trump mentions in these files, there's no allegations of wrongdoing, and they're more like things from news articles that Epstein was referencing in his emails to other people. However, there is one document in particular that has raised a lot of concern online. So last year, the FBI compiled a list of allegations that were made against Trump that they received in 2020 from a tip line that they set up, allowing anyone from the public to phone in and report a crime. And here we see a lot of disturbing allegations against Trump. One of the complaints details a woman who says that she was R-word, I can't say it on here, by Trump when she was just 13 years old. One of the complaints also alleged that Trump and Epstein held, quote, calendar girl parties at Mar-a-Lago, where Trump would auction off young girls and do horrific things to them. A different complaint alleges that Trump's golf course in California was the center of a trafficking ring between 95 and 96, and that some of the girls went missing and were allegedly buried at the facility. The files also include an FBI interview with one of Epstein's victims who stated that Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, once presented her to Trump at a party, and that apparently Ghislaine making it very clear to Trump that this girl was available, with Ghislaine allegedly telling the girl, "Oh, I think he likes you, aren't you lucky? This is great." Now, there are a lot of tips that the FBI received, most of which are so graphic, I can't even repeat them on here. But here's the thing, in the documents themselves, the FBI say that none of these allegations can be substantiated, and that these claims had no supporting evidence to follow up on further. But ultimately, it's up to you guys to look at the facts and make your own minds up. But next, in part 2, we're talking about Bill Gates.
Man, I mean, way to leave it up to us. So pretty much they just said, F it, guys. I mean, look, for you independent journalists out there, go ahead and do your own research. None of these stories can really be corroborated unless you go out there and do the research. So we'll see, because that's all they're hitting us with. It's like, look, we know people, they came in, they told their story, and we looked around, we didn't find nothing in most of these cases. Or maybe some of them was never followed up on the first place, and they were just tossed to the side. Doesn't really explain too much. It just explained what these victims said in detail, and that's all we're getting. So this is why it's like it left more questions than answer to. Honestly, it left us with more questions, honestly, than it really did. It didn't really answer too much. Like, it gave us what we already knew with more questions in between. It's like, bro, what? Like, honestly, I didn't even think Elon was going to get dragged into it. I thought he was a bit too young to get dragged into it, but here he is. Of course, we knew Michael Jackson somehow got dragged into it. I mean, who else is on there that's somewhat of a surprise?
Continuing calls for him to give evidence in America.
Oh, and shout out to my man Monty. He says, bruh, Epstein Island reminds me of Squid Games. I mean, I'm weak.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has yet to respond to the latest revelations, but he's always strenuously denied any wrongdoing.
John Sudworth there. Well, the documents also include email correspondence between tech billionaire Elon Musk and Epstein. The new emails show that Musk, who's not been accused of any wrongdoing in the case, discussed traveling to Epstein's island on more than one occasion, including a 2012 trip where he asked Epstein what day/night will be the wildest part.
Bruh, I mean, he really cooked himself with that one. He was asking Epstein, all right, so what night's gonna be the wildest parties? I mean, we don't know Elon liked the party, but I mean, did Elon know what type of parties he'd be getting himself into? Did Elon know that there were going to be little girls at this party? We don't know. That's the problem. But when you're texting Epstein, talk about, like, yo, let me know when the wildest parties start, and you kind of just looking at Elon like Elon, no, bro, no. Oh man.
Party on your island. There's no evidence that Mr. Musk ever did end up taking a trip to Epstein's island. Writing on X, he says, "No one pushed harder than me to have the Epstein files released, and I'm glad that has finally happened. I had very little correspondence with Epstein and declined repeated invitations to go to his island or fly on his Lolita Express, but was well aware that some email correspondence with him could be misinterpreted and used by detractors to smear my name."
Yeah, no, look, man. I love you, Elon. I really do. But the problem is with what you're saying is that can you just sit there and kind of, I don't know, give an alibi? Did you go? And if you didn't go, I'm assuming that's what he's saying. I'm just gonna assume that's what he's saying. He's just saying, look, I didn't go, even though I asked him when the wildest parties were. I mean, you want to explain that? Just explain that in context. And that's all we need. We don't need anything else. Just explain what that meant in context. Maybe it was your first time hearing about him. You heard he threw some pretty crazy parties, and you hit him up, and you was like, bro, let me know when the wildest party gonna be. Or I don't know, did you know the whole time? You might want to go ahead and put that in there. I'm just saying. Shout out to my man Monty. He says, remember when I said they were going to do this shit? Notice how none of these can be corroborated? Exactly. They're just going to create more questions, honestly. It's like, But I don't even think Elon knew his ass was going to get dragged into this. Like, who'd have knew? I think Elon even woke up that morning and was like, wait, what? Me? What did I do? And then he sees the emails. He was like, well, damn, I guess I did text him. Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, bro, to 2012, people forget. He meets a lot of people, but I mean, let's be real though. He does need to provide context for that. Like very good context just to clear his name. We got to be fair here. Because boy, if it was Obama that asking that boy a question like that, we'd be like, yeah, bro, full context, please. Now, shout out to PSA. Any and all racist insults, especially those made towards S.E.T, is an automatic permaban. Grow the fuck up and be civil. Hey, I appreciate that, Tove. And shout out to you guys. Appreciate it. Remember, guys, none of these stories can be corroborated. This is all just what victims are saying, which is, I mean, the worst part about it is this is what victims are saying. So it's really hard to sit there and just be like, well, damn, are they lying? Why would they come up with such a crazy, elaborate lie? Like, well, why go this deep into it? Can we know the victims? Now it's almost like we need to know the victims' names so we know if there's any special interest involved. It's getting to that point.
Well, Gloria Allred, a prominent civil rights attorney, represents many of Epstein's victims. She gave her reaction to the latest release of files.
Some of them are completely devastated by the fact that the Attorney General, the Department of Justice, was supposed to and indicated that they were redacting victims' names, the survivors' names. And yet, today, with the release of these more than 3 million files, many of the names of my clients who have been Jane Doe for many, many years were in fact published. And this is devastating to them. And we have to deal with that because, you know, they had little or no trust in the government. Now they have no trust in the government because the government has not earned that trust. And the Assistant Attorney General today, Todd Blanche, in his press conference said that he hopes that the release of the files will bring closure to the victims. This is ridiculous because they have devastated so many of these survivors by publicly releasing their names. At best, it was a sloppy job. At worst, it smacks of a cover-up.
Gloria Allred there. Well, with me is our correspondent, John Sudworth. John, a number of questions from this. But first of all, the administration indicating this is the final batch. Is that likely to be the case?
That's what they're saying, that they have complied with the law, which was that they release all relevant files, except for a few exceptions for legal reasons or to protect the identities of the victims. But they say,
yeah, and here's the thing though, I mean, the way this is going, we might need to know some of the identities of these victims to see if there's special interest involved, because these are some crazy things they're saying that can't really be corroborated, but all we know that somebody did walk in one day and said all this stuff out their mouth. That's all we know.
Okay, next up, Bill Gates, a very interesting one, because not only was he named in these Epstein files, but last night he even responded because of how viral these claims have gone. Now, there are 2 emails from 2013, which interestingly were sent from Epstein to himself, not Bill Gates. And the reason for that might be even more interesting than the emails themselves, because it appears these emails might be Epstein writing this email for someone else for them to send to Bill Gates. I mean, if you look at the first email, it's super long, it has spelling and grammar mistakes, and it's written almost like just a rant. But the second email, which was again sent from Epstein to himself, looks almost like a summarized, cleaner version, and it was written only hours later. Now, neither of the emails were signed off like you usually would do in an email, like from Jeffrey, for example. And the contents of the email don't really match up with it being Epstein. For example, the emails complained about Bill ending their friendship, firing him from a job, and asking for things like 2 years severance, and even talking about an investment contract they had together worth $100 million. But the part that went super viral online is at the end, where it talks about Bill Gates previously asking this person to get him antibiotics so that he could discreetly give it to Melinda, his wife at the time, because he had contracted STDs from, quote, Russian girls. So the even bigger question here is, was Epstein writing this as a draft for someone else? And if so, why would this person ask Epstein specifically to write this? Did Epstein include any information in this? And was this information ever ultimately used as blackmail against Bill Gates? A spokesperson for Gates told the BBC these claims are from a proven disgruntled liar and are absolutely and completely false. These are all the other names that I'm going to be covering in today's video, so make sure you follow so you don't miss them.
And you see what I'm talking about? That slippery slope of where, well, now we might have to actually know who these victims are, if there's any special interests or, old disgruntled girlfriend that might be, putting in these crazy reports, these crazy accusations. Because like I said, they came out, they're there, ain't been corroborated or anything. But like I said, all we know is that somebody came in one day, said this about a bunch of powerful people and never was really investigated like that. Or it was investigated and nothing came about it. I mean, be real with you. For those who want to take the side of the victims, I mean, be honest with you, us just saying that, oh, well, look, man, it can't be corroborated, so who cares? It's like they're not buying that. I'll be real with you. And I understand them in that.
Overnight, the survivors calling on 2 New York judges to provide emergency relief and shut down the Epstein Files website immediately, after a number of them had their identities exposed. Writing, DOJ committed what may be the single most egregious violation of victim privacy in one day in United States history. DOJ officials say they work to correct any mistakes when they become known.
Every time we hear from a victim or their lawyer that they believe that their name was not properly redacted, we immediately rectify that.
But the emergency request includes this quote from a person whose name has never been divulged before, saying, "I've never come forward. I'm now being harassed by the media and others. This is devastating to my life." The documents also raising serious questions about why Jeffrey Epstein was given such leniency after investigators initially uncovered potentially breathtaking criminal activity.
It is just this incredible, deep, visceral level of frustration and disappointment and sadness and grief.
Released for the first time, the original prosecution memo from a DOJ lawyer in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami in 2007, showing that federal authorities had uncovered evidence pointing to the broad scale and depravity of Epstein's molestation and exploitation of girls and young women. According to the memo,
I mean, yeah, that's how you know he was, bro. There was people in the government working with him, like there had to have been, or he was working for some type of intelligence, because it got so brazen at a certain point. It's like, how have you not been caught yet?
FBI agents discovered that Epstein arranged for massage appointments for girls and women ranging in age.
And he got caught doing that, and then got a sweetheart deal, and then went on to keep doing it.
14 to 23 years old, with victims receiving a finder's fee of $200 if they recruited other girls. The memo goes on to warn that Epstein represented a continued danger to the community based on his continued enticement of underage girls. Federal prosecutors initially wanted to charge Epstein with at least 60 felony counts, but in the end, Epstein was offered a deal where he served only 13 months of an 18-month prison sentence on Florida state charges, even allowed to work in his office during weekdays. President Trump's name comes up thousands of times in the Epstein files, mostly in news articles, but also in emails written by Epstein himself. The newly released files also include records of unverified tips to investigators, including some uncorroborated information pertaining to Trump and other high-profile individuals.
Which is crazy. Which is crazy that the assistance gets covered. Like, bro, you got to understand this is crazy. The craziness about this Epstein had more than just Ghislaine Maxwell out there recruiting women. He had assistants out there that will go out there and grab these women as well, do like the exact same thing to them, sell them into slavery, pretty much into sex slavery, and then we just let them go. Like, they're still out here to this very day walking amongst us as if they never sold a little girl into sex slavery in their life. Like, to this day, they're just out and about, man. I'm just telling you that right now. It's kind of wild. Like, we got so focused on these two right here, we just forgot the multiple others of them that was out here recruiting these young women and pretty much selling them into sex slavery. And they're just out here chilling, probably on vacation somewhere.
Men had a falling out, and the president says he cut off contact with Epstein decades ago. DOJ officials have said the allegations regarding President Trump are false and do not come from credible sources. The new documents are also placing even more scrutiny on men who we've known spent time with Epstein. Among the thousands of new photos released, these never-before-seen images of former Prince Andrew, who was stripped of his royal titles last year over his relationship with Epstein. Now seen here, crouched over a young woman, her face redacted, the date and context of the interaction unclear. Representatives for Andrew have not responded to a request for comment. But now the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is calling for Andrew to testify before Congress. Epstein was freed in 2009.
But I mean, look, you want to know a shocking Epstein find? Yo, check this out.
Zohran Mamdani's mother was also named in the Epstein files on Friday, and because of that, claims are now going wild on X, suggesting that Epstein is Mamdani's biological father. Yeah, now, despite how ridiculous that is, considering when the email was sent in 2009, Mamdani would have been 18 years old, that hasn't stopped posts on X from going viral. In fact, one of them suggesting this has got nearly 15 million views. Now, the reference to Mamdani's mom, Myra Nair, in question is from an email sent to Epstein talking about an after party for a film which had attendees like Bill Clinton, Jeff Bezos, and the director of the film, Mamdani's mom. Yeah, Myra actually directed the 2009 biopic Amelia, so I imagine it would make sense that the director goes to the after party. And in fact, from these emails, it's not even clear if Epstein himself ever went to the party in the first place. So yeah, wild day for information. These are the names that we still gotta go through.
You see what I'm telling you? Like, even Mamdani's mom is caught up in this. Like, it goes down. I ain't gonna lie to the people on the internet trying to say that Epstein is Mamdani's secret dad, bro. You guys are wild. You guys are terrible people. I just want to let you guys know that you're funny, but you're terrible people.
Newly released documents show he continued to communicate with some of the most powerful men in the world. The newly released documents show in 2012 Epstein emailing tech billionaire Elon Musk, allegedly discussing plans for Musk to visit Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. In one email, it appears Musk asked, quote, "What day night will be the wildest party on your island?" Musk says he never went to the island, and this weekend said he has long advocated for the release of files. Epstein had been cozying up to some of the most influential men on the planet since the 1990s. All have denied.
Let's be real. Now, one is either Elon didn't know that he'd get brought up in, or why would he want something released if, you know, he knew he'd be guilty in it? Like, let's be real though. Nobody would want to screw themselves over like that. So, or like I said, he couldn't have known, but he do need to provide a better story than just, hey, look, guys, I've been wanting this to get pushed out the whole time. I'm like, whoa, Elon, you know, we love you, bro, but can you explain the whole, let me know when the wildest parties are going on? Like, and remember, you say you didn't really have that much contact with him, but here you go asking a man for an invitation to the island. I mean, or, you know, like, did you know what was going on? Did you not know? Do you want to explain that in context, how that came about, just to cover your ass, you know, not just leave it out there and be like, well, you know, I was the first guy that wanted to be, you know, pushed out there, so nobody should question me. Don't work like that.
Not any wrongdoing and any knowledge of crimes or Epstein targeting children. So much collateral damage to so many, and it's becoming clear that every prominent person who spent time with Epstein is likely regretting it.
Oh boy, bro, spending time, shit, if you send the man an email, you under the microscope at this point. It's kind of tough, and I don't think it's fair if it's just an email, but I mean, hey man, it's for such a serious matter, we got to cover all grounds. I'm all for it, man. Like I said, prove your innocence. So be it. But all right, this is going to be the last video we're going to touch when it comes to Epstein. Then we're going to move on to other matters. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring up my co-host, Monty. But all right, guys, before we get into this video, that's pretty interesting and goes over a lot of details that's been newly released in the Epstein files, I'll go ahead and play this short clip.
Bro, not Prince Andrew is so cooked after this latest drop, and we'll get to this disturbing image in a second. Things are so bad for this guy right now that the UK's own Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is now saying that... Okay, next up, Bill Gates, a very interesting...
Okay, by the time this video gets out there, there's probably going to be even more, but with a brand new multi-million page Epstein data dump,
Sorry, guys, I thought I had the clip, but